In this next Python video, I want to build on what we just talked about using the input command. So I'm going to try to show you this program and building on what we did, and I know I'm going to get some errors when I run this, and that will help me explain the ambiguity using variable types in Python. In the last video, we talked about the input statement, and there they are there. I trust you've already practiced or used it a bit. I want to build now using if statements, or checking conditions on variable status. I purposely made an error in here, and I'm going to, so one of a few errors, I'm going to run this, and I'm going to get a syntax error pop up. I have a syntax error. I want to explain how the IDE does syntax errors. It pops up and it blinks here, and you think, well, what's wrong with that line? I don't see anything wrong with it. When in fact, the error is the line before. And I purposely left the bracket out of here, if you can see it, and you get that error. So when it's doing a check or a compiling run, it basically runs line by line and checks through everything, makes sure everything is correct syntax for Python. So it's coming along here and it sees that, goes along, there's your string, but it didn't see that bracket, goes to the next line, where's that bracket? Can't find it, error. So often, and I get trapped like this too, it says there's a problem in this line 26 or something, and then you're looking at it, what's wrong with that? It looks right. When in fact, you have to look at the line before to find your error. Okay, so I'm going to run this program. I'm going to input 3 values, and then I'm going to output them, and then I'm going to check the age thing. Actually, I'm going to delete that. I don't want to do that anymore. And then I'm going to use my if statement, and let's see if this is going to pop up the error I'm expecting. I do Meyer, I put an age of 11 in, and for a height, who cares, put anything, here goes my error. This is called a runtime error, and sometimes it's nicknamed a logic error. You didn't have any syntax, your code looked fine, the programming worked, you run the program, and then you try to do something and this error pops up. And it's saying you've got an error in line 39. The type of error, this is not supported between strings and integers. It's kind of complicated, but here's what's went wrong. We've said that name's going to be a string and age is going to be an integer and height's going to be this. We input the values, but the truth is Python's very loosey-goosey of what that variable type really is. And the error came right here in line 39. 12 is an integer. Age, because we didn't really say anything, the default in Python is to make age a string. Yes, we entered a number, but Python doesn't know that it's a string or a number. It doesn't really know that. Watch, for example, what is your name? It doesn't care. It's a string of characters. The string just happens to be these funny characters that look like numbers, but it doesn't really matter. Age, didn't care. Take it, baby. And this is the part about Python I don't really like, in a sense. You can pretty much type anything you want. But then when you start doing things with the variables, when you start doing comparisons or math or something, it's going to give you a logic error or a runtime error and saying, wait a second, yeah, you inputted them and stored them in RAM, but what kind were they really meant to be? Even though you said it was a string or an integer, it doesn't mean it is. Again, in other programming languages, they're not loosey-goosey like Python is. It's very strict. How do I fix this problem? Here's the workaround. When I do age, I'm going to force it to be an integer. And how do I do that? I use the integer command. And the integer command, I'm going to just do a little trick. I'm going to hit delete. The integer command says whatever you put in those brackets, force it to be an integer. What's going to be? You're going to get an input from the user, and you convert it to an integer, and you stuff it into that variable. That forces that variable to be an integer variable now. So that when I go to the if statement, the old sort of jingle is you can't compare apples and oranges. If you want to compare whether this value is less than this value, these two values have to be the same type. Apples and apples, oranges and oranges, integers and integers. 12 is an integer. So I have to make sure, I have to make sure age is an integer. And how do I make sure? I force it to be an integer using the integer command. Up until then, strictly speaking, age was being put in as a string. Didn't really know the Python's loosey-goosey stuff. And this forcing us to say, whenever they type in, force it to be an integer, and then stuff it in here. And from now on, then age will be an integer. Let's see if that works. Type in my name. Oops. Now I'm going to put in 12. I'm going to put in 11 because I want that if statement to be true. And then I can put in anything I want here. And I still get an error. Oh, I made a mistake here. I put a slash in by mistake. Let me try that again. I'm going to run it again. Okay. Oops. Meyer 11, 12.44. Be more careful. And then there comes my output. And why does it say, oh, you are only 11, you must be a child and only 12.33 inches tall? Done the if. What happened? I put in 11 for age. The if statement came, and 11 less than 12, true. It printed that out. And when it was done that, it printed this. It was done the if. Let's try it again. Meyer, I'll put 9, and I'll put 34.56 or something. What comes out on the screen? Well, exactly what was supposed to come out on the screen with that if statement. If I can bring these over here and juggle it a bit. I entered 9 for that age. It gets integerized. It's an age value of 9 for the integer. If age is less than 12, is 9 less than 12? Yes, that's true. Print this and print this. And there it comes out. Okay, and then print the done the if, and that's right there. Now let's run it again. This time, if I can get my screen up here, sorry. I'm over here, I'm going to put higher, and this time I'm going to put an age of 23 and some height of 99 or something, doesn't matter. Why did it not say, hi, Meyer, you are 23? And why did it not do those two print statements? Well, that if statement will only check if age is less than 12, do that. If age is less than 12, do that. Well, in this case, age is 23, so it didn't do those two. Why did it do that print statement? Because it's outside the tab region. If I did this, oops, let's run ahead, delete that. If I did this, what would happen? If this statement is true, these three print statements would get executed because they're all tabbed in. By not tabbing it in, you automatically run this after this if statement is true. And the style thing, it just happens. if you do something like that, just for the humans to read your code makes more sense in a thing. Now, jumping ahead, I'm going to do what I said before. I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to scroll down to the next if statement that I have. And I'm going to uncomment this. And I'll push that down so it doesn't confuse you. Now, what am I doing? Before, name, age, height. Here's my print statement. Sorry, my if statement. This is a more common if statement. It's called a true-false or a if-else statement. If it's true, these three print statements get done. If it's not true, else, these three statements get done. Up here, if it's true, do this. Otherwise, just keep on going to the next step. In this case, this is more common. True, do this. Not true, do this. And then, I guess, I could I could do something like this and put that here. If it's true, do those three. If it's not true, do three. And then when you're done all this, you're going to do this anyway, if that makes sense. Watch what happens. It's less than 12. So I'm going to run it now. Jumping around. Meyer. I'll put 15. Some number there. And then it said you are 15. You must be older than a child. You must be older than a child. So because I put 15 in this time, the if statement does not go true. 15 is not less than 12, so you can't do that. So that's false. Else, do this. It's not true. Is it true? Do this. If it's not true, do this. And that's the if-then statement. And again, why did that come out? Because this if statement gets executed, true or false. And then this print statement gets done regardless of whether it was true or whether it was false. Okay, now, next part. If I jump, I'm going to comment that out and then scroll down. This is a less common but more complicated. And that's the last one. I'm going to just talk quickly. You can figure this out. It's not that hard. Again, basic if statement. True, do something. If it's not true, nothing happens. If it's true, do this. If it's not true, do this. The more complicated if statement is called an else if statement. And in Python, they write it a little bit different. I'm just going to type this in because it's more common in other programming languages like Python and like Java, C# and stuff like that. So it's a little different in Python, but I think you can get the idea. We're looking for multiple true conditions. If the age is less than 12, do this. Else, if the age is greater than or equal to 18. Now, in Python, you do this. So it's kind of an abbreviated else if that makes sense. Else if. I'm just writing it in English so you get the idea, but you do this. Check if that's true. Do that. If that's not true, check if that's true. Do that. If that's not true, check if that's true. Do that. And you can keep going. I mean, I could have 100 of these if I wanted to. True, do that. True, do that. True, do that. Else, meaning none of those are true, then it must be false. That's your last condition. Do that. And then again, right before, it's done, it will do that anyway. Once this whole if statement is done, then that would get executed. I'm not going to run this. You're going to figure it out yourself. But you get the idea. Just to recap, very basic if statement. True, do it. Not true, nothing happens. Next one, more common. If it's true, do this. And if it's not true, do this. And more complicated, multiple ifs. If that's true, do this. Otherwise, check another condition whether it's true, do this. It's another condition, do this. And I mean, you can add as many as you want. And if none of those are true, what's false? Do this. And when all that's done, you got to do this anyway. Okay, enough challenge. I'll stop the video now. I hope that makes sense.